Another thing I wanted to talk about again was simply our front five. I had said before already in the previous video, I said our front five is just not on the quality of, it's not on the same level as our back five. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on the back five. For example, Declan Rice, 100 mil, spent a lot on Zinchenko, spent a lot on Gabriel, Saliba, of course, stuff like this. Ben White spent 50 mil on Ben White. On goalkeepers we've signed, we spent a lot on Ramsdale, and then went and bought Raya as well. Obviously, Raya wasn't that expensive, but it's just not even so much about the money as well, because think about it, we also spent a lot on Partey as well before we then went spent a lot on Rice again as well, and we also spent on Jorginho. So it's not so much about it's not only about the money, but also the amount of players that we've signed in that position. Timber, Tomiyasu, just the amount of players we've signed in that position to improve the depth, improve the quality of that side of the pitch. Shows that's why our build-up play is so good, because we've invested so much in that area of the pitch. I feel like we haven't invested as much in the final third as we have in the back five. So the way, obviously, we have like a back five and a front five. The front five would be like Martinelli, Havertz, Odegaard, Saka, Gabriel Jesus. But I feel like there's another level we can get to. As I mentioned already, we can improve on a striker. We need to look for a striker. Obviously, we've been linked with Ivan Toney. Some people saying that we could possibly go for him in January. For me, I love Ivan Toney. I think he's great. He has all the qualities. He's a shooter for stars. I mentioned already, like, the guy that we signed needs to be a target man and a shooter. That's the first thing. A guy who can shoot from different angles, a guy who can score goals, and a guy who's a presence in the final third. My only thing here with signing Ivan Toney is that, could we possibly wait till the summer and try and test for the likes of Osimhen, for the likes of Ferguson, for the likes of Sesko at Salzburg? Or no, Leipzig actually. Yeah. Can we wait till the summer so we can test the market for those guys? I know it's going to be so difficult to get those guys, and of course, if we're in a title race, then maybe it's best to just go for Ivan Toney instead in January and try and win the title, which I wouldn't have an issue with that, but it would leave a sour taste in my mouth if we signed Ivan Toney, but then we get to the summer and we can't go for Osimhen, or we can't go for Ferguson, or we can't go for Sesko and stuff like that. It will leave a sour taste in my mouth. But at the same time, Ivan Toney is a fantastic player. Anyways, it's more so about the age difference as well, and also because, like, I feel like they've got higher ceiling. Even though right now Ivan Toney is at that level, I feel like they probably have a higher ceiling than him with the qualities that they have. But yeah, if we do sign Ivan Toney again as well, that will be a level raiser as well. And again, for Martinelli, I feel like we need to sign competition for him on that side. At left centre mid, yes, we have Fabio Vieira, we have Havertz, but I think we need to sign another profile. So we do have a bunch of different profiles. Like, we got Havertz, who is more like a second striker. We got Fabio Vieira, who's more like a Bruno Fernandes kind of attacking midfielder, who's more about the final actions. And then you got Odegaard, who's more like a pure playmaker in the final third, who's starting to add shooting to his game. But yeah, I feel like a profile that's still missing in that part in that midfield is someone that can help us to dictate games, control games, carry the ball into the final third, progress the ball. Someone that can also improve our ability to retain the ball in the final third. More of like a traditional centre mid, because when you look at the way traditional midfields are built, you look at PSG, for example, where they've got Vitinho, Ugarte, and what's his name, Zaire Emery. They've got like even Barcelona with Gundogan, Frenkie de Jong, and Romeo. They've got like a traditional kind of midfield three, like a midfield three of centre mids that can, that are more natural centre mids. Whilst we have more of a midfield that's more like a defensive mid and 2 10s, or defensive mid and 2 attacking midfield. We have a very direct midfield. I feel like a profile that we're lacking in the team is someone who's not as direct, but someone who can offer us that kind of ball progression with dribbling, with passing, a more natural centre mid that can help us. Sometimes, yes, Zinchenko drifts into the midfield to help us to dictate and control games. However, you can also, sometimes if you're being dominated, you can also just have a midfielder on the pitch that can just put his foot on the ball, and just here and there, pass the ball there, pass the ball here, just circulate the ball. The kind of quality that guys like Modric, guys like Kroos, Thiago, Verratti, the kind of stuff that those kind of guys used to provide for their teams, where, yeah, you can have more final action kind of guys, but sometimes you just want guys who under pressure, they can just pass the ball, just like, it's like they're doing like Rondo on the pitch. Pass the ball here, get the ball back, pass the ball here, get the ball back, progress the ball, bypass player, draw in pressure, bypass pressure, invite pressure, bypass it, find guys in between lines, find guys behind, play the safe pass when it's needed, or speed up the game when it's needed. That kind of player is something that we're lacking in our team, and I feel like we will do well with that player. And if we have someone like that, let's just say someone like Locatelli, for example, if we have his profile, we have a profile like Fabio Vieira, we have a profile like Havertz, and another one like Odegaard. 4 players for 2 positions, all varied profiles. That gives us a lot of variety in attack. It allows us to play in multiple ways. It allows us to change the game however way we want to change the game. You know, if we feel like we need more control in the game, you play with a midfield of Rice and that guy. You could even play a midfield of Rice, Partey, and that kind of midfielder, which would give you a lot more control in your game. Or you can go more direct and have Havertz, have Odegaard, and have Rice. Just things that just gives us a lot more variation, a lot more variety, a lot more ways to play. So I feel like the next profile we need to sign in centre mid to improve that part of the game is more of a controlling kind of centre mid, more of a guy who will dictate play. Yes, I know people say that Zinchenko is that guy who drifts into midfield, but that's not the only area where you can dictate from. You don't just dictate from the deep area. Zinchenko is dictating from the deep area. He's besides Rice in the build-up play. So we have the 3 centre-backs and then Zinchenko and Rice ahead of them. But this guy can be someone who can dictate and control the game in the final third, in the middle third, from the second phase. What Gundogan needs to do, where he'll dictate the game from in the final third, like how Modric dictates the game in the final third. Kroos is the one that who was sat closer to Casemiro for Real Madrid in that team, whilst Modric was the one who was more dictating in the final third. And I feel like that's a profile that we don't really have in our team, and someone that we can bring into the team. So yeah, I feel like we need to add a left winger, add a left centre mid, add a striker, and improve the quality of our front 5. That's the next step in our evolution. Our back 5 is solid. We have everything that we need there. Our front 5 just needs to match the quality of our back 5. And for me, once we do that, we're going to start blowing teams out of the way. I feel like, yes, we are very dominant because of our system and great individuals, as I've mentioned already. However, in terms of blowing teams away, you get that by having great individuals in attack, elite individuals in attack. And when you have that, you that's when you start getting 2, 3, 4 goals. Because all these little chances that you get in games that we're not taking, the elite players take them. The elite players, all these little, the amount of time we have on the ball in the final third that we're not creating significant chances, the elite and playmakers and elite midfielders, they create those chances. You know, that will improve us and allow us to score as many goals as we need and things like that. So yeah, that's the main thing. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was a look into the Champions League. For me, when I looked into the Champions League straight away, I'm not saying that we need to win the Champions League right now. Straight away, obviously, but I only see teams like City, PSG, Barca, Real Madrid, and Bayern as the top teams in the league. Well, how many teams have I named? I've named 5 teams. And those 5 teams on Arsenal, for me, those are the best teams in the Champions League. Obviously, from what I've seen from the way they play, and on paper as well, those are the 6 teams for me that should be competing for the Champions League. There's no reason why we should be going out to any other team. And even those teams, I don't think we should just accept that if we draw those teams to the knockout stages, we should go out. No, I think if we draw PSG or we draw Real Madrid or Barca, Bayern, City, we should expect to give them a great game, and we should be looking like we can win and go through. And go through. So I don't think there isn't a team in the Champions League for me this season. I think the strongest team possibly is probably Man City for me. They're just so direct this season. It's insane. Obviously, Real Madrid are still in they're building a new team again as well. Barca the same also. They've got some quality players. They're PSG for me. I saw them yesterday. They look good as well. Obviously, they've got Mbappe, who's a game changer. I think the biggest difference between us and all of these teams that I've seen is the attackers in the final third. For me, that's the biggest difference. They all have game changers in their final third who are going to win games. And I feel like a lot of these games, I think we can have close games with them, but I think where we might come off short is in those close games, they might have a guy that's going to make a difference and score the 1 goal or the 2 goals, whilst we may not have that difference maker. And I think maybe that's why in January we should try our best to get that striker or get that left winger or get that left centre mid, at least 1 or 2 of those positions. We should try and get that if we to try and push on to win the league title, or to try and push as far as we can in the Champions League. For me, again, like I said, those are the teams that we should be competing with. I don't see any reason why we can't compete with them, but the biggest gap that we need to make is in the final third. Add more quality in attack so we can become more decisive. You saw what City did. They had a great team already, but they added Haaland just to become more decisive in the final third, and added Grealish, things that I added Doku now. Just stuff like that I think we need to do. I think we need more quality in the final third. We need to add more decisiveness in the final third. And I feel once we do that, once we add that, then we can. I feel like we're not gonna have no issues from there. I feel like we can definitely compete. So that's the reason why I don't think. I'm not expecting us to win the Champions League. I'm expecting us to compete and win the league title this season. But for the Champions League, I think we should expect us to be able to compete properly, go far in the Champions League, and then see how we go from there. Obviously, in the next season after that, once we've addressed the attacking players in the attacking third and get players who can be more decisive in the final third, then I'll start expecting us to win the Champions League. But yeah, it's still a steady plan. But yeah.